Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you here at Simple Beth Sholom. It's wonderful to celebrate Shabbat with you. I'm going to ask that you turn to page 10 as we begin our service this evening, Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid Nefesh, Avorachaman, Mishoch Avdach, Eretzonach, Yarutz Avdach, Kemo Hayam, Yishtachaveh, Mul Adarach, Ki Erav Lo, Yedidutach, Minofet Suf Vechotam Higalena Ufros Aviv Alai Et Sukat Shelomach Ta'ir Eretz Mikvodach Nagila v'nismecha bach Mahir ahuv kiva moed v'choneni ki me'olam Yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 Yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai 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 yadai dai dai dai.
We continue together, page 11, Lehu Neranena.
Lehu niranena, lehu niranena, lehu niranena, Adonai. Lehu niranena, lehu niranena, lehu niranena, Adonai. Naria, letzur yishenu, nikadma fana betoda. Naria, letzur yishenu, Bizmiro narialo, lehu niranena, lehu niranena, lehu niranena, Adonai. Lehu niranena, lehu niranena, lehu niranena, Adonai.
We continue on the bottom of page 12.
Arba'im shenakut bedor, va'umaram tohe levavhem, vehem liyadu terachai, asher nishbati ve'api, im yevaun el menuchati. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruch shemo, Bazru miyom leyom Yeshuato.
We turn to page 14, Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. יירם הים, יירם הים, יירם הים ומלוא. יירם הים, יירם הים, יירם הים ומלוא.
Zamru Ladonai is on page 18.
Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bechatzotzrot vekol shofar. Ariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bechatzotzrot vekol shofar. Ariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Hiram hayam lo tevel veyoshveiva neharot imcha uchav yachad harim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel betzedek ve'amim b'mei sharim. Hiram hayam lo tevel ve'yoshveiva neharot imcha uchav yachad harim yiranenu.
We continue together, page 20, Romemu.
Nai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 nai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 nai 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 nai. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu.
You know, when I'm locked out of my house, I need a
Key.
Someone laughed. Please rise. Mizmor LeDavid, page 21.
Mizmor LeDavid, Avul Adonai b'neilim, Avul Adonai, Kavod va'oz, ay, 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 Avul Adonai, Kevod shemo yishtachavu Adonai, Hadat Kodesh, Kol Adonai, Hamayim elat kavod hirim Adonai. shamayim rabim kol Adonai bakoach ay 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 kol Adonai behadar kol Adonai shover arazim vayashaber Adonai el arzei havonon vayakidem kemo hegel Lebanon v'Sion kemo ben remim ay 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 kol Adonai רוצה לבוטש כל אדוני יחil מדבר יחil אדוני מדבר קדש כל אדוני יכול לעלות ויחשוף יערות ובחלו כולו אומר כבוד איי 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 אדוני למה בו ישב וישב אדוני מלך לעולם אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום ניי 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 Nine, 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 ay, 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 nine, nine, ya, na, 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 ay, na, 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 ya, na, 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 nine, 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 ya, na, 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 nine, 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 nine.
Please be seated. We continue on page 22, Ana Bekoach. Adonai, if you would, may your mighty right hand undo the knot that ties us up. Accept the prayers of your people, you who are revered. Raise us up and cleanse us.
Ana bekoach, bekoach, gedulat yemincha, yemincha. Tatet serura kaberinatam kasagvenu tarenu nora. Ana bekoach, bekoach, gedulat yemincha, yemincha. Tatet serura kaberinatam kasagvenu tarenu nora. Ana bekoach, gedulat yemincha, tatet serura, kaberinatamcha, rinatamcha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Nagibor doshe yehudcha, kevavat shomrem, barkem tarem, rachamem tzidkatecha, tamid komlem. Ana bekoach, gedulat yemincha, tatet serura, kaberinatamcha, rinatamcha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Nai 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 nai
We turn to page 23 as we prepare to greet the Shabbos bride, Lecha Dodi.
Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Lecha dodi eli rakala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi eli rakala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor, b'dibur echad ishmi'anu, el hamiuchad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet. ולתחילה לך דודי, לקרקלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת, לכוונך כי מקור, הברכה מראש מקדם, נסוך סוף מעשה, במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי, לקרקלה, בני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומצאי, מתוך אפיך רב לך שבט בעמק אביך, והוא יחמול עלייך אמלה, לך דודי אלי רקלה, פני שבת נקבלה, הנערים מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי, תפארתך מעל יד בן ישי, בן הלך מקרבה אל נפשי, נפשי גאלה לך דודי, לקרקלה בני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי כי באורך, קומי אורי אורי אורי, שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה לך דודי, לקרקלה בני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשכחי ומה תרמי בך יכסו, אני עמי ונבנתה. עירתי לה לך דודי, לקרקלה בני שבת נקבלה, והיו לשמסה שעושייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי זכוס חתן חתן הכלה לך דודי, לקרקלה בני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תעריצי על יד איש, בן הפרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי, לקרקלה בני שבת נקבלה, בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה, ובצולה תוך אמונה עם סגולה בואי חלה.
שבת מלכתה לך דודי, לקרקלה
פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקרקלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We continue together on page 27, Mizmor Shir Leom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Sadiq Katzamar, page 28.
צדיק התמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוגן ובון בשיבה, שנים ברעננים יהיו לך גיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי צורי ולא עוולתה בו.
Page 29.
אדוני מלך ולבש, לבש אדוני עוזית הזר, אף תיכון תבל בתימות, אף תיכון תבל בתימות, נכון כיסך מאז, מעולם אתה, נעשהו נהרות אדוני, נעשהו נהרות כל העם יישאו, נהרות תוך ים מגולות מים רבים, אדירים משפטי ים, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני, עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נא בקודש, אדוני לאורך ימים, אדוני לאורך ימים, מגולות מים רבים, אדירים משפטי ים, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני.
If you're able to do so, I ask that you please rise as we continue page 39, the Baruch Hu, the call to worship together.
Nai nai ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da da Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Yadai Nai Nai Yadai Nai 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 Yadai 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 Nai 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 Yadai Yadai Uma'avir yom u'mevi laila Uma'avdil ben yom u'vein laila Adonai tziva'ot shemo Adonai tziva'ot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch Aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
Page 40.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot u'kimu mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shokveinu v'kumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki kem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Ve'orech yameinu U'bahem neged yomam v'layla Ve'avatecha al tasir miminu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'beitecha U'v'lektecha v'aderech U'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha Ukshaktam leot al yedecha Ve'hayu letotafot bein einecha Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha U'visharecha Vayim shemot.
Page 42. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber b'nei Yisrael. Lema'an tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim Elochechem ani Adonai Elochechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lechiyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elochechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
We continue together on page 44. Who is like you, Adonai, mi chamocha?
Nai 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 nai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei feleh, nora tehilot osei feleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze Elianu ve'amru, Ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Nai 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 nai. Nai 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 nai.
Hashkivenu, page 45.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoeinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Adonai, shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our God. Please watch over us and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Please ensure our going and coming for life in peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
We turn to page 46 as we rise and sanctify Shabbat together. Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Hatzi Kaddish, page 46.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותי ועמלק מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקדושה, ברכו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We remain standing. The Friday night Amidah begins on page 47. This is a silent prayer. Use the words of the Siddur to guide you, or the private meditations of your own heart. For those of you still praying your Amidah, please continue to do so. The rest of us may be seated. Shalom Rav is on page 51.
Shalom Rav, Am Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Am Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Lechol Hashalom, Ki Ata Melech Adon, Lechol Hashalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol eit ubechol sha'ah Bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam.
We continue on page 52 as we make peace together. Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen.
Kaddish Shalem, page 54.
יקרא וגרשם מרבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליק מלכותי בחיי חוני וימי חוני וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו, אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלם מעלמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר וירומם וינשא ויתהדר וידעלה ויתעלה שמי קדושה, בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו, אמן. התקבץ לו תהון ובתהון לכל ישראל, קודמה והון ושמיה ואמרו, אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Last month, my wife got a present for Hanukkah, and I decided to steal it and put it in my room and not let her play with it, and that's what I did. She got a vinyl record player, and I've always wanted one, so I totally usurped it out of her office, and now it is mine. I've been called an old soul, and people have told me that I was born in the wrong decade because I love music from the 70s, rock and roll especially, but especially my favorite band is a seminal punk band from New York City called the Ramones. Now, if you don't know, some applause. This is my group. If you don't know who the Ramones are, picture 4 tall, ugly guys in leather jackets, blue jeans. They're adorned with sunglasses and long hair, and they sang hits like, I Wanna Be Sedated. So I have all of their vinyl records. My dad actually bought them as a graduation gift when I graduated high school, and they were basically worth nothing, and now they're worth quite a bit. I didn't even really know what vinyl was back then, but now that I have a vinyl player, I've been re-exploring this group, all of the records that they have. And the other day, I was looking through all of these records, and I saw one in particular that has an infamous history with me. In the year 2007, I was living in Austin, Texas, and I had heard that the only surviving member of the Ramones, that's right, all of the other Ramones have passed away. The 70s were really rough. There was one Ramone left, Marky Ramone. He was their drummer. I heard that he would be making an appearance at a local rock and roll venue in downtown. Now, I thought this would be just a great opportunity to bring some stuff to the show and see if I could get Marky Ramone to sign these things. So I brought the record, one of the records that he played on. I stood in line outside of this club, and I waited to be let in, and I was hoping that I could just get a glimpse of this guy walking into the building, and maybe if I waited around long enough, he would sign some of my stuff. Well, as I was waiting in this very long line, I found out that Marky Ramone's band was the headliner, and there were six other bands opening for him that night. I got to the venue at 6:30 p.m. He wasn't going on until midnight. So I stood outside of this club for hours holding a vinyl record. Have you ever held a vinyl record for hours? It's not fun. So I waited and waited and waited. No Marky Ramone. Apparently, he could not be bothered to show up to support the opening acts. And I waited and I waited. And finally, right before midnight, a car pulled up right in front of the club, and Marky Ramone steps out. Now, just for a moment, I want to talk about the phenomenon of seeing famous people on TV versus in real life. Now, on television and on records and on posters, Marky Ramon always looked really tall, and he always had this long, flowing, luxurious black hair. But ladies and gentlemen, when he stepped out of the car that night, I noticed that I was about 1.5 feet taller than Marky Ramon, and that he was obviously wearing a very bad wig. Furthermore, when I approached him to get his autograph, his bodyguard appeared out of nowhere, this enormous human being, big enough to just push me aside easily, and Marky Ramon looked right at me, and then right at the club, and continued to walk right past me. After that, he walked inside, got up on the stage, mumbled something incoherently, and then played the drums for about an hour, and afterwards, his set was over. He got up from his drum set, walked through the crowd of his adoring fans, all of whom wanted him to sign stuff, take photos with them. Marky had his security push these people aside. He walked right out of the club and into that same stupid car that had sat there waiting for him, and he drove off without saying a word. I stood there on the sidewalk, still holding my record that a Ramon refused to sign or acknowledge twice. And that's when the expression that my dad used to tell me, "Son, never meet your heroes," it finally made sense to me. I feel like this sentiment was particularly applicable the other night here at the Temple Beth Sholom Religious School. I did some Torah learning with our students in the chapel, and we read from this week's Torah portion, Shmot, the parsha that begins the book of Exodus. I read to them the story of Moses' birth, and then we read a truly disturbing anecdote that really made some of the students uncomfortable. It's from Exodus chapter 2. It says, quote, "Sometime after that, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his kinsfolk and witnessed their labors. Moses saw an Egyptian beating another Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. So Moses turned this way and that way, and seeing that no one was around, he killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand." That's right. Moses blatantly commits premeditated murder in this parsha. And then he tries to hide the evidence by literally burying the body in the sand. Now, when I read this to my students, many of them felt offended, as if they had been almost lied to in the past. You see, in cartoon movies like The Prince of Egypt, Moses does not blatantly murder the Egyptian. He accidentally pushes him off a roof, and he certainly doesn't bury him in the sand. But here, according to the Torah itself in the verses I just read you, not only does Moses blatantly kill someone, he does it purposefully. And then, when our students heard that for the first time, I saw the innocence melt away from their face, and it was as if they were meeting the real Moses for the first time. And that same expression, "never meet your heroes," echoed in my mind again. Now, I should note that our students aren't the only ones who are less than impressed with Moses' behavior. The sages of our tradition also struggle with what Moses did. And in an attempt to reconcile or excuse his actions, they come up with a litany of verses to try and make him seem like he's not at fault. But it's obvious from the text that before Moses murders the Egyptian, he looks, quote, this way and that way to make sure that no one else is around so he can kill the guy without being seen. So I looked up a verse from Rashi, a medieval Spanish Torah commentator, and he says that the reason that Moses looked this way and that way wasn't to see if people were around. He was wanting to watch the Egyptian beat the Hebrew slave in the house and then in the field to make sure that this person was guilty. Now, the only problem with this idea is that it's wrong. But maybe the rabbis experienced the same sentiment as well. Never meet your heroes. They can't reconcile Moshe Rabbeinu, our first teacher, our first real leader, our redeemer from Egypt, the big man, the head honcho. They can't let him be a blatant murderer, so they have to figure out how to make this action okay. Well, friends, this evening I'd like to advocate an idea. What if sometimes it's just not okay? What's wrong with saying that what Moses did was not okay? Now, obviously, Moses turns his life around. He shrugs off this Egyptian identity. He eventually becomes the leader that we know and love, but his murderous nature should be something that we just have to acknowledge and accept. Likewise, after that evening in Austin, Texas, I soon came to accept that just because a guy can play the drums really well doesn't make him a likable or nice person. Apparently, Marky Ramone didn't think he owed me anything, not even the time of day, and perhaps he's right. Now, to conclude, I want to say the following. After that show in Austin, I heard somewhere that Marky Ramone wasn't pleased because the show wasn't advertised correctly, and he was in kind of a sour mood because he felt like he was slighted and therefore just wanted to get in and out, and supposedly in all other circumstances, he's actually quite nice to fans. Okay. We could apply this same logic to Moses, by the way. Typically, he advocates for the betterment of people, not for their murder. This was an extreme circumstance or life-changing moment. He acted impulsively. Okay. I don't know if we'll ever find out the true nature of either of these characters, and I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, stories like these aren't supposed to teach us about the characters in them, but rather they're supposed to teach us about ourselves. I've thought about that quote my dad used to tell me, and I think the reason we shouldn't meet our heroes isn't because their actions will actually let us down. It's because there's a part of us that wants them to be something that they're really not. And when they don't live up to these expectations, they're automatically lessened in our own minds. So basically, they're doomed to fail ever before we even meet them. So in a sense, they aren't letting us down. We're letting ourselves down. Music, religion, both of these things are supposed to affect the self. So I think even when we have a bad or awkward experience with the people involved in these things, they are doing their job because we grow in some way from the experience that we have with them. So the question is, did I grow from my interaction with Marky Ramone? I sure did. Because now I choose not to see him in person, and I only look at him on the cover of those vinyl records. He's still my hero, but I now know that he's kind of a jerk. And I'm okay with that. Shabbat Shalom. If any of you know Marky's Ramone agent, I will be at the Oneg. Stop by. Hand me a business card. The sages of our tradition speak of Friday night as being a time where angels visit us from all over the world. So I ask that if you're able to do so, please rise, turn to page 73 as we greet the Sabbath angels. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ani l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We remain standing for Kiddush, page 76.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei puri hakafeh.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh Bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikrahei kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki banu v'charta Ve'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshecha Ve'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
We remain standing. Aleinu is on page 56.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'atei gedula le'otzer Bereshit shelo asanu k'yei haratzot ve'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama shelo samchalkenu kahem ve'goralenu kechol hamonam va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim Lifnei melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shirut Shamayim me'oser haaretz Okay, nekaveh l'chai Elohim. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. Simple Beth Sholom is acknowledging the yortzites of Maurice Asher, Joseph Bergman, Herman Burns, Francis Bloomfield, Donald Bogart, Esther Corbin, Samuel Dorff, Barry Howard Eisman, Jesse Pearl Fishbane, Jake Friedman, Lillian Gallup, Eva Galski, Celia Genzer, Fanny Gertz, Ernest Grost, Frida Isquith, Elaine Jacobs, Isaac Katz, Vera Katzoff, Leo Kirch, Rose Kohlmeyer, May Colwyn, Julius Lakin, Herbert Leslie, Sue Lichter, Mr. Margulies, Ron Markowitz, Stuart Mazer, Mary Meisner, Harry Merkin, Mary Mersmer, Edith Michael, Max Milstein, Lee Sol Mintz, Marlo J. Mogul, Samuel Stanley Pearson, Max Phillips, Susan Pincus Miller, Josephine Pomerantz, Harry Louis Raphael, Abraham Isidore Reitman, Robert Rosoff, Bernice Schiffman, Herbert Siegel, Sheftel Schill, Pauline Schnofsky, Mary Steinman, Brenda Strimling, Alfred Schwartz, William Sweet, Pauline Talmadge, Hernando Torres, Rosella Weisbley, Job Weiss, and Sidney Zabin. Mourners and those observing a yard site have an opportunity to say the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 58. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divara kirute v'amlik malkute, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'kaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'izman kariv imru Amen, Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yit barak v'yishtabak v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudusha b'richu le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'imramav v'ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Please be seated. I should also note that Edie Radomski passed away the other day. There was an email sent out to the congregation. She didn't make the list because this was printed before that happened, but we're just sending love to the Radomski family. I know many of us are close with them, and I believe the funeral is on Sunday, so hold them in your hearts and love and blessings to them. We now have an opportunity to hear some announcements from our synagogue president, Bill Mason.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Hodson, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Thank you. Announcements for tonight. Please join us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for Shabbat morning services. During the week, morning minyan begins on Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m., Tuesdays through Fridays at 7:30 a.m. The temple office will be closed on Monday. This Sunday, January 15th, is the last day to adopt a grapevine in order to receive your wine in time for Pesach. The links for ordering a grapevine can be found in your Shabbat handout. On Sunday, January 29th at 2 p.m. in the small social hall, we will be hosting Documenting History Through Art, presented by David Lekovsky, and Leora Rakin. David's grandniece will be lecturing us about his art in commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is time to RSVP for Religious School, Building Others Up Ice Cream Social Hall, and Everything is Awesome Shabbaton on Friday, February 3rd, and Saturday, February 4th. Promises to be awesome. But just note that for the kids, it'll be on 2 nights, both Friday and Saturday. Upcoming for our USY Kadima members is a USY Kadima Shabbat dinner on February 3rd. For Kadima members in grades 4 through 6th, Kadima Day at Sequest on February 5th. RSVP to DJ for those 2 events by February 1st. USY will be going to Defy Trampoline Park on February 12th. The last day to RSVP to DJ for this event is February 8th, if everybody's keeping all those dates straight. Following services, please join us for an Onig in the large social hall. Tonight's cake is sponsored by Judy Foreman in honor of Steve's 80th birthday. Congratulations and happy birthday. If you know of a temple member who is in the hospital, ill at home, or in a nursing home, please contact the Temple Beth Sholom office and let us know. If you're a new member or visiting tonight, come say hello. I'll introduce Temple Beth Sholom to you. Again, Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Temple Beth Sholom.
Anything else?
Well, you guys know about the carnival coming up, so I don't need to say that, but you don't have to wait for my phone call to ask for a donation either. If you would like to donate to the carnival, remember that all these funds go to the youth department here at Temple Beth Sholom. Helps these kids go to both local and regional programming. It helps us offset all of the cost for our events, so that way we're accessible to every Jewish teenager in Las Vegas. So ahead of time, thank you so much for your donations. Feel free to reach out to me after Shabbat or just the temple office.
All right, Adon Olam, page 211.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra, Leit Nasa, V'hefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nigra, Ve'acharei Kitlot HaKol, Levado Yimlok Nora, Ve'hu Haya, Ve'hu Hoveh, Ve'hu Yeh B'tifara, Ve'hu Echad, Ve'en Sheni, Lehamshil Lo Le'akbira, B'li Reshit, B'li Tachlit, Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamizra, Ve'hu Eli, Ve'hai Goali, Ve'tzur Chevli, Ve'etzara, Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li, Menakosi Be'yom Ekra, Be'ador Avkid Ruchi, Ve'eti Shan Ve'aira, Ve'imruchi, Giviati Adonai li v'lo ira, nai 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 nai.
We bless each other, Yevarechecha, together.
Yevorechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yevorechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Adonai Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech etzamo v'shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu. Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Hi to Steve's sister watching from home. Hi. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for tuning in.
So other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how's the play? Hey, look, it ended at like before 8:15, so I'll take it.